In a galaxy where the toughest worlds cull even the hardiest species, only one anomaly thrives: humans. Sent to the worst of Deathworlds as punishment, they don't just survive, they adapt, reshape the environment, and evolve into something utterly unpredictable. Their resilience defies biology, and their will reshapes planets. The galaxy watches in awe and fear as humanity becomes the apex wildcard. In a galaxy where the toughest worlds cull even the hardiest species, only one anomaly thrives: humans. Sent to the worst of Deathworlds as punishment, they don't just survive, they adapt, reshape the environment, and evolve into something utterly unpredictable. Their resilience defies biology, and their will reshapes planets. The galaxy watches in awe and fear as humanity becomes the apex wildcard. The galaxy had always viewed humans with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Strange, short-lived creatures that refused to conform to known biological norms. For every peaceful diplomat, there was a feral colonist punching gravity in the face. But what truly unsettled the Galactic Council was not humanity's aggression, it was their capacity to change, especially under pressure. When the Interstellar Accord introduced the penal colonization protocols, humans were the first to be tested. A Deathworld system, Omega Protocols, was designed for uninhabitable planetary bodies where dangerous criminals from all species would be sent to die out of sight. It was intended as deterrence, not rehabilitation. Humans, ever the anomaly, volunteered. 1,000 of Earth's most expendable were shipped off, not as prisoners, but as test cases. If they could survive, perhaps the Omega Protocols would prove insufficiently lethal and need to be restructured. The first world, Hekara 7, a planet with searing atmospheric pressure, 900 degrees Fahrenheit surface temperatures, toxic storms, and magma tides. The Council expected radio silence in 48 hours. Instead, in 12 days, a signal returned. It wasn't a distress call. It was a schematic. A blueprint for a pressurized dome reactor built from salvaged shuttle parts and cooled with sulfuric air extractors. Followed by a weather analysis protocol. Then a photo, a small group of humans waving through radiation-streaked windows, covered in soot, but very much alive. 3 months later, the Council watched satellite footage of humans terraforming pockets of Hekara 7 into habitable nodes. They cultivated heat-resistant flora by hybridizing Terran cacti with local crystal-fused vines. Their power was geothermal. Their shelter was recycled shuttle metal fused with native obsidian. They had food, water, defenses, and rotating teams exploring the planet's poles. They were thriving. What disturbed the observers most wasn't just the survival. It was the tone of their logs. Some were casual, joking. Others detailed technical improvisations born from total lack of supply chains. Many spoke of purpose, of challenge, of fun. This wasn't a death sentence. It was a boot camp. So the accord escalated. A second planet, Draven's Maw, was selected. A jungle death world teeming with acid spores, nocturnal ambush predators, and plants capable of digesting bone. The atmosphere was breathable, but only in narrow zones. 10 humans were dropped without gear, food, or shelter. Within 48 hours, 9 were presumed dead. But the 10th? He survived by hiding in a shallow cave. A month later, he emerged leading a pack of tamed predators, beasts that had adapted to his phenomenal manipulation, learned routine, and hunted with him. By year's end, 3 more humans had emerged alive, building high-canopy villages out of alien spider silk and using local bugs to detoxify spore clouds. Every other species placed on Draven's Maw had lasted no more than 6 days. The humans were negotiating with the ecosystem. A pattern emerged. On ice worlds, they hollowed glaciers and used body heat to nurture crops under bioluminescent fungus domes. On gravity-heavy planets, they broke their own bones, regrew them stronger with medkits cannibalized from downed drones, and learned to move like quadrupeds. On ocean planets with no land, they constructed floating kelp cities, growing protein-rich fish from their own skin cultures. But not every adaptation was pure ingenuity. Some were darker. The planet Varos Prime was meant to break them. Its psychic atmosphere affected cognition. Indigenous fauna transmitted madness through sound. The last species deployed their cannibalized itself within 10 days. Humanity's turn ended differently. The recordings showed humans changing, not just physically, but mentally. They sang songs that disrupted the fauna. They formed hive-minded communities, sharing hallucinations and developing group rituals that countered mental decay. Psychologists studying the footage noted something chilling: the humans didn't resist madness. They accepted it, and made it functional. The council was alarmed. None of this was supposed to happen. Humanity had turned a punitive system into an evolutionary crucible. The worst environments became bootstrapped ecosystems. Deathworlds turned into laboratories. Survival wasn't enough, they were transforming. Each return transmission showed subtle differences. Bone density increases. Improved night vision. Social rewiring. Even language shifts, fewer pronouns, more group identifiers. They were becoming post-human. Meanwhile, other species sent to these worlds still perished. In a twisted irony, the Omega Protocols had evolved into a human-exclusive process, a galactic forced evolution experiment. Then came the proposal: isolate them. Deny extraction. Let them be sealed on those planets. After all, they weren't coming back the same. But it was too late. On Taros 4, a mining death world lost for a century, an entire human colony had self-sustained and begun launching shuttles made of local materials. They weren't just surviving. They were expanding. The Council had failed to predict the obvious. That survival, for humans, wasn't a state. It was a habit. A hunger. A constant push against any known limit until new norms were born from old scars. From the initial deployment of 1,000 humans, there were now 957. 43 had died, many by accident or sacrifice, but the remaining had not only endured, they had multiplied. Slowly at first, then exponentially. Microcolonies emerged across multiple deathworlds, each with their own customs, biology, and philosophies. This was the most terrifying development yet. On Hecora 7, a solar matriarchy had arisen. Heat-resistant matriline's bred to sustain generations in extreme temperatures. Memory was transferred not just via records, but through genetic scripting, epigenetic, burn scars inherited across lineages. Children knew their grandmother's fire routes before they could speak. On Draven's Maw, the jungle humans had fused with their environment so intimately that their skin secreted predator-repelling enzymes. Their eyes had night-spectrum trichromacy. Language was now chitter-based, mixed with wind-toned whistles. Their society measured status by how well one could blend into the ecosystem, not dominate it. Varos Prime produced something even more bizarre. A decentralized human network, with no formal leaders, that shared dreams via harmonics and fungi-laced food. They communicated through emotionally resonant hallucinations, each member a living node in a planetary-wide empathy field. What appeared to others as insanity was, for them, a new collective consciousness. No longer Homo sapiens. The Council labeled them Homo perseverans, the enduring human. They debated quarantine, sterilization protocols, planetary embargoes. But none of it mattered anymore. Because the Deathworlds were no longer prisons. They were now strongholds. And worse. They were beginning to export their creations. From Gliese 91G, a world of toxic salt winds and flammable rain, came a bio-adapted shuttle made from coral metal hybrid skeletons and wind-harvested ion turbines. Its pilots, born on the world, immune to its toxins, and carriers of zero known pathogens, yet entirely incompatible with Earth-born humans. They looked human, but their respiratory enzymes had shifted. Their musculature was optimized for erratic gravity shifts. They were scouting other planets. They weren't asking permission. A philosopher from the Schulvek species warned, humanity had evolved not as a species, but as a principle. It was no longer about their genes, it was about their method. Any environment they encountered became a canvas. Every constraint was an invitation. Every defeat, a blueprint. War was not the risk. Irrelevance was. Even Earth, once the cradle, had begun to feel archaic. The original strain of humanity had stabilized, comfortable in luxury, slower to change. The new Deathworld kin regarded Earthlings with polite nostalgia, like one might regard cave paintings. The tipping point came when Homo perseverans requested a seat at the Galactic Council, not as guests, not as humans, but as representatives of adaptive sapience, a new class of being. Their ambassador was a six-limbed jungle human with both gills and lungs, clothed in fungal fabrics and accompanied by a psychic translator spore. The council hesitated. They had expected extinction. They got evolution instead. There was no war. No uprising. Only a slow, steady shift. Colony by colony, world by world, the unpredictable survivors seeded a new narrative: you do not conquer Deathworlds, you become one with them. And in doing so, they had become more than anyone had expected. They were no longer merely human. They were the future. Like, comment, and subscribe if you love these long HFY stories. It supports the channel and lets me bring you more epic sci-fi.